All right, we're live. All right, we're live.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Brown and I'm one of the organizers of Crush Repeat. We're so happy you're here. We did not expect to be doing the show in this way, but here we are. This has never been about perfection or the perfect product, but really about the process and celebrating the process and engaging people where they're at. So here we are doing something on the internet, trying something new, and we appreciate your grace in advance.
Am I up? Oh, no. Hi, we just, here's a little info about Crush Repeat and its beautiful history. Sarah Brown and Dawn and, oh, sorry, Sarah, remind me. Elizabeth, I apologize. First did this show back in 2014 in our friend's punk house Queer Basement in Beacon Hill. A couple years later, Sarah and I got together and we started it back up, and we've been doing it ever since. It's been an annual show. Every year, we invite artists to join us for a month of art making, where they come for and pick something that they can do one of a day for the month of March. And then we show it immediately after in April. People can either do a small project every day or work on a bigger project throughout the month and talk about their process.
And now we're going to hear from Diana, who is the owner of Vermillion, which is where we were originally intending to have our show for the month of April.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? My name is Diana Adams, and I own Vermillion Art Gallery, which is also a bar and performance space on Capitol Hill in Seattle. And I opened up this place about 12 years ago. And the goal was to make art more accessible to the general public and have more broad hours, and also to make it feel kind of like an art opening, but we're open every night. So you know, we all love art openings, but they're only once a month sometimes. So yeah, my goal was basically to serve underserved artists, BIPOC, and various other artists in different levels of their careers, so that they could sort of get their feet wet and just learn about what a great community it is to be a part of and how we all help each other out. I'm really glad that McKenna and Sarah approached me for the show. I'm disappointed that we aren't having it in physical time on the walls, but in the meantime, this is a great idea, and I'm really excited to see everybody's work, and I'm really happy that you're all here with us. That's pretty much it. If you would go to my website, vermillionseattle.com, you can see a little bit about the history, the previous art shows. And then also with the overhead here, we're hoping to work something out, but you know, I have a donation button for also PayPal and Venmo, Vermillion Arts, or PayPal is vermillionseattle@gmail.com. But I really want everybody to support the artists first. So thanks. I'll see you at the end of the show.
Thank you, Diana. There are so many different impacts of the crisis that we're all experiencing right now. And businesses that are suffering in our city is definitely one of them. So once Vermillion reopens, head out there and check out Diana's business. We want to tell you a little bit about the structure of the show. Each artist will be presenting alphabetically by first name. So that gives you a little chance if you have friends or people that you know that are presenting, you'll have an idea of where they're going to come up. And on the YouTube live stream, their full artist statement, which is more extensive than some of what you'll hear presented, will be in the YouTube live chat. So thank you, Freddie, for doing that. Check that out, and they should be coming up simultaneously as they present. You'll see a few different types of presentations, a few live performances, and some videos, some digital photos that are going to be described by either us or the artists. And McKenna has a little bit more.
Yeah, so we just wanted to give a giant thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all of the help that we've received this year, especially from Peter, Freddie, Corinne, and Diana at Vermillion again. And the Seattle Office of Arts and Culture has awarded us with a grant for the second year in a row for this show. And we're very, very grateful for their contributions in helping make this possible. And we want to thank everybody who donated to the show to make it possible this year. You made so much possible in terms of being able to help us afford supplies so we could give free art supplies and free micro grants to artists, and it was really amazing to be able to like spread that wealth and spread and just reallocate supplies and everything. And so we're really excited about that, and we're really grateful. And right after, at the end of the show, you'll see in the live chat, we will post our link to our new and improved web gallery, or I guess brand new, it's not improved, it's just the first time, web gallery, where you can see all of the art from tonight's artists in more detail with all of their beautifully written artist statements. So thank you so much.
So let's start with our first artist. Our first artist has chosen to remain anonymous, and that this is their statement. Inspired by International Women's Month in March, I decided to celebrate brave, strong women. I wanted to share their brilliant thoughts with others and also comfort folks in this time of uncertainty and fear. I've been following telephone pole art and street art in Seattle for a while now and was inspired to share my images in the streets. My forte is portrait paintings, but I had to come up with something simple that could weather the outdoor elements like rain and wind and sun. I'm using all recycled materials and decided to add a little shiny fringe at the bottom so that they would catch a passersby attention. I came up with 31 daring individuals to highlight, and it was really fun to pick the perfect quote for each woman. All these pieces reside in and around Columbia City neighborhood in South Seattle. It's been fun to hear feedback from residents in Columbia City through social media neighborhood sites. The response has been positive and seems to be creating joy, which makes the artist very pleased. The artist remains anonymous, as street artists do. Our next artist is Alice Dinter Manos, who's a self-described scrap artist, who usually spends too much of her time working in the hospital as an internal medicine resident.
Hi everyone, this is Alice. So this is the first quilt I've ever made. It is a cathedral window quilt, and I learned how to make this quilt from my mom, who has been working on a similar quilt, the same technique, for about 40 years. You can imagine her quilt is a lot larger than mine. And she learned how to make this quilt from a woman she met on the Appalachian Trail when she was hiking in Virginia. She was invited to this woman's house and then learned this beautiful craft, and then reconnected with this woman years later when she came to visit her in Seattle. So it's made from unbleached linen and then little scraps of fabric that my mom still had left over from her quilt. And it was a fun process, a little bit tedious at first, but then became more meditative. And I look forward to seeing what all the other artists have done this month, and hope to keep up my creative juices throughout the rest of quarantine. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Alex Perry is a white, non-binary, and trans writer who also enjoys listening to music on the radio, being trapped inside with their 7 housemates, and spending time in the mountains when it's safe to do so again. Let's move to the next slide, Peter. Alex wrote a series of poems meant to replace their burgeoning habit of venting their every thought to their Instagram story. Unsurprisingly, detaching themselves from social media took on a new meaning amid COVID-19, and Alex found that reflecting through poetry helped them keep some distance away from the collective stress and anxiety that emerges from engaging with the 24/7 news cycle. So we'll just be quiet and let you read the next couple of Our next artist is Amanda Farman. Originally from Boston, Amanda Farman is a 24-year-old queer artist based in the U District.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, it's not letting me screen share.
Oh, hold on.
There we go. Thank you. All right. So, hi. So for Crush Repeat this year, I decided to illustrate coincidences that happen in my life. For the past 7 years or so, I've kept journals of coincidences, and the ones I illustrated for Crush Repeat are a combination of recent moments as well as past moments found in old journals. And writing about these coincidences has always been something very personal, so it's exciting to be able to share them with you all and the people close to me through visual art. I really liked noticing how almost everyone that I illustrated featured someone who's important to me, gave an activity where I already found a lot of meaning, which is just looking at the world through these small serendipitous moments, even more meaning. And drawing is also the activity that really brings me the most joy, and I never really get around to doing it. So I'm really grateful to Crush Repeat for the opportunity to adopt a daily practice. It felt really grounding to have that amidst everything this past month. So thank you. I'll have one more slide. All right, thank you so much.
All right, our next artist is Bear Finkelstein. Bear is a genderqueer, poor, fat, disabled, Jewish, self-taught artist who adores color.
Because of the pandemic, I couldn't do my original project. So at home, I had copper sheets, which I cleaned. And then I learned to patina them and flame design them on YouTube, where I think you could learn how to do brain surgery. So basically, I made do with what I had. And I plan to cut them and make them into pendants and earrings. I'm waiting on a tool to come for that. Thanks. Because of the pandemic.
Next, we have Becca Tilson. Becca is a longtime Seattle community member whose Crush Repeat goal was just to do a daily act of creativity. Then COVID happened, and she created a podcast. It's a world debut right now during Crush Repeat.
Thank you, Sarah and McKenna. Hello, everyone. Happy Crush Repeat. So my goal was pretty meager. I just wanted to re-enliven my creativity after a year of parenting. But when COVID hit, I felt completely called up to get to work. So the pressure of the moment just demolished a layer of perfectionism that had been keeping me back for a long time. And here I am, way out of my comfort zone. I've created a podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you're all safe and healthy.
The novel coronavirus COVID-19 is tearing across the globe at a speed that is literally breathtaking. I watch everyone try to right-size their response to this surreal moment, searching for balance amidst a swirl of doomsday predictions, an administration bent on exploiting and profiting off of this virus, and endless rumors, spam, and news. We might not know how to do this, but you know who does? Our ancestors. We started Dispatches in the tradition of our community organizing ancestors who taught us that we need each other and that we have each other, that we will gather in any way we can, that even in these unprecedented times, collectively we have what it takes to meet this moment with creativity, love, and grit. Dispatches is conversations about getting through COVID with community care, mutual aid, and personal and collective resilience. We want to capture what people are figuring out in real time, what regular people are doing when they put their values in action, what organizers are dreaming and building, and the brilliance that is emerging now so we can bottle it for the future. I'm your host, Becca Tilson. I'm an organizer and a movement baby, and a somatics practitioner, a facilitator, and a mother living in Duwamish territory, otherwise known as Seattle. We are in a moment where we could call up anyone on the planet and talk to them about the very same thing. So let's do that. Together we can get smarter, more strategic, and more resourced. Come, join us.
Next, we have Bernadette Wright. Bernadette is a queer femme fiber artist who makes playful, experimental pieces with no rules or templates, only the joy of spontaneous, unplanned creation. For Crush Repeat 2020, they made 6 embroidery pieces on linen and silk using metallic paints, tulle, and lots of imperfect French knots. They started off the project excited to try out a number of new to them techniques, but their time and capacity dwindled throughout the month. COVID-19 resulted in another aspect of life in which accepted slowing down, resting, changed plans, and imperfections was necessary. They would like to rehome these pieces for no cost or by donation, preferably to folks who are essential service workers in recognition and thanks. Please contact them via the email address or Instagram account listed in their bio to arrange a piece of joyful imperfection landing in your home. Carolyn Shasha is a scientist at Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center who completed her PhD in physics last year. She made a series of moon illustrations using watercolor and black and metallic pens. This project allowed her to practice abstract watercolor techniques and provided a grounding sense of consistency during the otherwise unpredictable month. If you are interested in purchasing any of Carolyn's work, her email address is in her bio.
That probably won't be the last time that happened. I was muted. Our next artist is Christine Federhart. And Christine works at Harborview Medical Center, but is now working at home during COVID days. Being removed, but trying to find ways to contribute more directly and show large amounts of gratitude to all healthcare staff at all levels, she designed a thank you postcard, 2-sided, and is putting them up in various locations around UW Medicine hospitals. The image on one side, the bird, I love you, is a paper collage she created. The other side is designed by Vintage Book Art Company. She started the Crush project with drawings of crazy low tide creatures found in the Puget Sound until COVID came. Our next artist is Claire Barrera. And Claire is an artist, activist, and educator based in Portland, Oregon. Their project, titled El lenguaje nos gusta y nos confunde, is a visual Spanish-English dictionary. Throughout March, they read the novel Formas de Volver a Casa by Chilean author Alejandro Zamba, each day picking a word they didn't know, looking it up, and illustrating it. Their goal was to increase knowledge of their father tongue while getting more confident at their drawing skills.
Our next artist is Craig Wilsey. Craig is a writer, editor, and teacher who recently moved from New York to Los Angeles.
Hi. First, I just want to say thank you, McKenna and Sarah, for this project. It was so nice to have something to do over this month and just like have this consistent thing. And thank you for all your work, like getting us transitioned to this new format. I really appreciate it. For my project, I took a photograph with a Polaroid camera every day. And I got the idea, I went to see a chakra healer in November who told me, I'm a writer, but the chakra healer really felt like I needed to be like working in the visual realm and thought I should be thinking about light and lines. And so I tried to take photographs every day, thinking in terms of light and lines. It was really like fun for me to like work in a different kind of media than I usually work in. It also was like not fun. Like it was like really interesting for me to learn about myself, like how much I don't like doing things I don't know how to do. I want to just be like, feel like I know what I'm doing. And so it was really cool. Like I really like learned a lot about like my own relationship to like creativity and to like productivity. And I could really feel like my relationship to the photos change over the course of the month as I kind of like relaxed into like not knowing what I was doing, and like taking Polaroid photos like really highlights that, because like you can't see it. You don't know what it's going to look like. And it always looks really different. Like it's really hard to control for like light and exposure and all of these things. And so it's like a really like nice, for me, it was like a really nice exercise in like accepting like unknowability and like imperfection, and just like letting myself play and not worry so much about what things were going to look like in the end. Yeah, that's what I did. Thank you.
Our next artist is Danielle Morgan Sharon. Danielle is a queer filmmaker from Bellingham living in Brooklyn, New York with her spouse and their tiny dog.
Hi. I made a motion picture every day, mostly using my iPhone camera and a simple editing app called Premiere Rush. Two of the videos were shot on a Red camera and edited in Premiere Pro. Originally, I wanted to explore the idea of what is a motion picture. I expected to play more with form, but as I found my routine altered and concerned for the world growing, I turned toward more meditative, soothing images, partly because that's what was available, but also because that's what I was drawn toward. It became a bit more like documenting, more like a daily journal, and less of a deconstructionist form as it went on. I intended to use different cameras, different editing techniques, but instead I found a way to simplify it by using my phone to film and edit, and it felt more like sketching, which was really freeing. Since filmmaking is such an expensive and complicated and time-consuming art form, it was really exciting for me to be able to strip it back to like as simple as possible like its simplest expression. So it could be more like a little sketch. And this is just a cut down of every day's video, and each one is anywhere from 10 seconds to 60 seconds. I played a lot with different soundscapes on these too. I couldn't usually use the natural sound of the video, so I would use sound effects from sound libraries. And
C is for cookie, that's good enough for me. Oh, cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C.
And some of it was clearly natural sound as well. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Oh, Darius, I'm going to give you a little intro.
Yeah, okay.
Darius X is a doodler, dabbler, and dapper resident of South Beacon Hill. Darius is passionate about visual arts, whether he's working in his printmaking studio or playing with other forms of mixed media. A lifelong lover of the culinary arts, Darius shares his obsession with soothing, step-by-step ASMR videos by crafting his own cooking and baking video series. Tonight, he's dedicating his first video, Dream Cake for My Maple Bear, to his Canadian sweetheart, with whom virtual date nights couldn't be any sweeter. While the video is playing, Darius will share his thoughts and inspirations behind the making of the video.
All right, well, hi, everyone. I am so glad to be here. I squeezed in at the very last minute, so thank you, Sarah McKenna, for inspiring me to share like whatever seemed relevant. This isn't a quiet video, but there are little bits of sound here, so you'll hear whisking and whatnot. Really, I just kind of wanted to like set aside my perfectionism because I didn't really want to share this video because I just made it for myself and for my sweetheart. But to be honest, you know, the inspiration behind deciding to go ahead and share it is that we're all just in a state of putting our aside our expectations of the way the world is going to be, and especially the way that we're going to be connecting with each other. And I was also thinking a lot about, you know, this mandate to hunker down and work with the resources that we have. Some of us have more, some of us don't, some of us have less. And so I was just thinking, you know, here's a recipe I discovered that was actually invented during the Great Depression, where people had very basic pantry items. So I wanted to challenge myself to make something very simply, and also wanted to share this and offer this as an idea for other people who might want to, you know, put together some comfort food. So yeah, that's basically my offering to this community. Is just it's a simple comfort food recipe. Doesn't require a whole lot, and also give yourself permission to take the time to enjoy what you do have, and just know that you have a community behind you. So thank you.
I'm just going to have a problem unmuting myself every time.
Sarah, just don't mute yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Darius. You're getting requests for the recipe in this artist. So our next artist is Devin Delenya. Devin is a mixed race woman of color, a filmmaker, and a visual artist that grew up in Duwamish.
Hi all, thanks so much for having me. The show has been really beautiful so far. I worked on a small series of watercolors this month, and heading into this crisis in early March, I was really trying to dream up some resilience practices for myself. And one of my biggest resilience practices is swimming in the ocean and being in water. So I have spent my life here in the Pacific Northwest, swimming in the Puget Sound and the Pacific Ocean. But I was lucky to spend the month of February in one of my ancestral homelands in the Philippines, where I got to swim in this beautiful reef on this tiny island called Siquijor, which is known for its sorcery and magic. And I took a little underwater camera and took a lot of footage of the reef and the creatures and all the different plants that I saw there, and wanted to sort of transfer those really brilliant and colorful things into a watercolor every day as part of water medicine for myself. So I just so appreciate Crush Repeat. I have been a fan for a long time. It's my first year participating. And it was a really special touchstone every day in March to sit down and be very slow, be very peaceful, and be really flowing with the art every day. So so honored to be part of this community of artists. Thank you.
Our next artist is Ellie Watts. Ellie is a Seattle queer who identifies as a not very creative and is therefore especially grateful for Crush Repeat for the annual encouragement to take on an artistic project.
My project was to create silhouette portraits of my friends' faces. I really fondly remember doing this in elementary school and kind of have wanted to do it for years. So I thought Crush Repeat was the perfect time to do it. Coronavirus had a different idea of me being very close to my friends. My studio was in my bathroom. I put a towel over the window and had my friends sit on a crate, and I stood in the bathtub and traced their shadows from a single light source. And I really loved the process and loved working with my friends to create these. And then as social distancing became more and more imperative, obviously I couldn't have my friends over. And so I tried making the switch over to inanimate objects, and I got some really good suggestions, including sex toys. But I just really lost my steam because I missed the process and the sort of intrigue of people's faces coming to life. And yeah, I think that's it.
Our next artist is Emily Bess. Emily is a scientist, a teacher, and a graphic artist living in Seattle.
Hi, everyone. Like a lot of folks here, the project that I started in March is not the project that I ended up making for Crush Repeat. What I made was an accordion book that chronicles my month of March, along with some COVID data. So now that I have this photo up, I'll read this page to you. Let's see. I shopped at Costco for several friends. I stood in line 2 blocks long to get in. I went on a first date. We walked 3 feet apart. That seemed so far apart at the time. I made a pact with my roommate not to cut my hair during quarantine. The governor announced a stay-at-home order. So when the Zika virus outbreak happened, I was working as a biologist in mosquito science, and I thought I knew something about virus outbreaks, but I found myself really confused and scared in a way that I never had been. So I went to the Johns Hopkins COVID website, where they have a bunch of data that you can manipulate and make different types of graphs out of. And I made a graph, and can we move to the slide that has the long photo? There we go. So this is the 6-foot long accordion book. And the graph that you see is 3 countries, the COVID cases that were accumulating over the month of March. This helped me to put things into perspective about what was happening in the world, but it also was really sad and hard. But I've found that sharing this and listening to other people's stories that they've been experiencing during this really unusual time has really brought me closer to folks in a different way. And I've really appreciated it. I want to thank Sarah and McKenna for putting this together. It's been such a pleasure to be able to participate. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Emily. Our next artist is Emily Stern. Emily is a human counting her blessings and navigating uncertainty with her badass kid and beloved housemate, and evolving as a now full-blown virtual professor in English, creative writing, and humanities at the Santa Fe Community College.
Hello. Am I supposed to say something? Yeah.
Emily, do you want to say anything about your pieces?
Yeah, they're an extension of a bunch of work I started after I had a traumatic brain injury. And the image that you're seeing right there is on a chair seat that I dumpstered from the fine woodworking department of my school, where I get all my supplies. And I made it just before everything changed in Santa Fe, which was just before our spring break. And then it made so much more sense to me after everything shifted. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah. It's wood burning and paint and collage and carbon paper and tracing paper and plastic. Everything's garbage. It starts as garbage. Thank you. That's all.
Our next artist is Emma Shore. Emma is a farmer who loves art and is starting her own farm this year. Emma made watercolor paintings of the veggies she's growing to be used as signs at the farmer's market this season. This project brought joy and was also a necessary part of preparing the farm for market. It got interrupted with the sudden closure of farmers markets. Making these paintings was an act of love for the farm, and it felt hard to continue, not knowing if they would be shared in the way they originally imagined. You can find more art and buy real veggies at risingsignfarm.com. Emma would love to feed you this season. Our next artist is Emmett Stanfield. Emmett is a queer trans nanny and therapist in Seattle who loves building loving friendships with people of all ages.
Hello. For this year's Crush Repeat, my original plan was to take photos of my friends who are babies and toddlers. And this unfortunately got interrupted by an unprecedented global pandemic in which we couldn't see our friends. So I ended up mostly taking photos of the kids who I live with. Oh, there they are, who are 1 and 3. And so I see a lot of them in these photos, as well as some of the kids that I nanny and a couple of friends that I got a chance to see before quarantine. And one of the big reasons why I love being friends with little kids and taking their photos is because they experience so much unbridled joy and delight. And it's really refreshing to be around people who are so delighted by all the little things in the world, from a little piece of cedar to, a little car or anything, especially when we are in a time when being around adults is really hard, when everyone is really sad and scared and mad right now. So I hope you get some joy looking at these photos.
Our next artist is Evan Boyd. Heads up, Evan would like everyone to know that this artist would like you to be aware that their work features some nudity and mildly violent imagery, just in case anyone wants to cover their eyes. Evan Boyd is a Seattle via Midwest queer who has 34 years and loves the plant world. Evan made a series of collages based on dark surrealism, erotica, and lots of humor. Wow, what would I have done if I didn't have this insane art project to work on? Waiting for work to end so I could get back to my collages showed me the powerful presence art should have in my life. My process centered around trying to create outrageous scenes that one can't unsee. If you are interested in purchasing any work, get in touch through the email address in the comments. Our next artist is Hannah Shapin. Hannah is a teacher, scientist, and outdoor enthusiast who enjoys the process of creation in many different media.
Hi, thanks. Thank you both for organizing this. This has been an amazing glimpse of community. For this month, I chose to do sketches every day. I'm trying to get better at watercolor, so I was doing had thought to do on location sketches. I usually orient towards nature, but challenged myself to look at architecture and buildings instead, and chose to focus on buildings in my neighborhood and places I would pass as I'd walk. Often I'd take photos while I was out walking and then come home and do the sketches at night. So it sort of provided a double chance of awareness, that chance to look at what I'd want to paint later and then to paint it. It was interesting also that there are no people, mostly because I can't paint people very well yet. But it seemed an interesting sort of emptiness that the month grew into, but also gave me a chance to think about all the places that I'm used to seeing full of folks and connecting with people. So that was fun. And I'd love these to go to new homes. If you'd like some art for donation or for fun, let me know. Thanks.
Our next artist is Heather Poston. Heather took digital photos throughout the month of March with the aim of skewing light to reveal abstracted views of her everyday life.
Photography is my earliest creative love, for sure. I got into cameras and shooting photos as a kid and have maintained some connection to this practice ever since, both professionally and in my personal creative expression. When I started thinking about my Crush Repeat project early this year, I knew I wanted to keep it simple, something I could easily do every day that might also give me interesting perspective and practice. So taking photographs every day made the most sense to me since I'm so comfortable with the medium. To take the simplicity concept further, I decided to confine myself to the most basic foundation of photography, light. Every day I would shoot light and/or reflection in an interesting way. In the end, I didn't end up shooting every day. This didn't really feel like a time to push myself creatively. When I did shoot, though, I felt really moved by the images. Even at a really young age, I found myself obsessed with what I would call mistakes. When you got a roll of film back from developing, there would often be one or two frames that were clearly unintended, or the intent was skewed by the mechanics of the camera. Light flares, blurred motion, backlit silhouettes are examples of this. As I started shooting my Crush Repeat project, I realized I was creating mistakes, but on purpose. And in doing so, I was tapping into something magical I felt as a younger me. And given the current state of everything, this was an awesome thing to tap into from time to time. I ended up with a dreamscape series, images that tie my current life to a feeling I remember from before. Sometimes I would look at the back of my camera and gasp a little bit at how beautiful and weird and dreamy an image turned out. Light and color might smear across an image in a strange way, the image of a person only recognizable in their essence. A random ceiling shot in reflection. The way a bank of lights might look like a blanket of stars suspended in darkness. And the tree outside of our kitchen window in so many different moods. I did a lot of things in March that I didn't exactly plan for, and most of those took up more space than this project. But I love that I'll always have these images to remind me of another small personal perspective of March 2020.
Thank you. Our next performer is Elvis Strauss, an almost 41-year-old graduate student living and working on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples of the Muhisquim, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh nations, aka Vancouver, BC.
Hi. For this Crush Repeat, I wrote a short story every day. Most of them were, well, the longer the month went on, the more they became about COVID until the very end where like I scrapped that and like the last 4 pages or the last 4 days were like an extended sci-fi about mutant crabs. I'll get that edited at some point. But I was gonna read one. It's called Appreciation for March 25th, 2020. Tuesday, I asked. Wednesday, you said. Those are the first words we had spoken to each other all day. For the record, it was past dinner already. For the record, I was still hungry. I stared out the open balcony door at the trees and sky and the houses and apartments across the street. The view had not changed one bit. God, I sweat a lot today, I confessed, rocking back on the back legs of my chair, teasing gravity, like more than usual. You look over at me, mentally gauging if the slight variation on my routine was worth responding to. You sigh. It is not. I continue nonetheless. I think it was because I was on the ground a lot, I explain, letting my words fall like blank Scrabble tiles. I'm looking at you. You are looking down at your... I stand up and walk a few steps to see what's in your lap, looking down at your book. Cool, I say. Your breath is quiet and steady and kind. Can breath be kind, I wonder? I walk back to my chair, stare at it. I resign to sitting back down, and I'm just pushing the front legs off the ground when I hear a neighbor banging on a kid's drum. It's joined by someone clapping and someone else hooting and hollering. It's 7 p.m. More neighbors join and the sound comes from all over and nowhere at once. I right myself and step out onto the balcony. I felt shy about it yesterday, but today it feels right, so I join in on the clapping, looking at all the others doing the same. I'm instantly flushed with heat I don't understand. It feels good to make noise, to clap, to appreciate and participate in this scattered standing ovation. I turn around, still clapping, and you're standing in the doorway, clapping loudly, quietly sobbing. The heat I felt a moment ago supernovas through me, and tears start spilling down my face. Then we're both just standing there, clapping and crying, two cooped up fools with nothing to say. And to end, I also like doing paper crafts. I didn't make this, I just made this in the last week, and I just want to say Happy Easter for everyone.
Thank you, Elvis.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Our next artist is someone who's really special to me. Well, you're all really special to me. This is my nephew, Isaiah. Isaiah is a 17-year-old trying to pursue concept art as a career. He made ideas that came to life through the use of charcoal and pencils, trying to use a theme of morality. This month was rough. A lot of things came up that didn't leave so much. Thank you for doing this, Isaiah.
Yeah, we're next.
Isaiah's getting lots of compliments in the chat field here. All right. So our next two artists are a parent and child. We have Wiley Villarreal, who's a 7.5-year-old artist and first grader who specializes in Lego art. Janet Nehama Miller is his parent, an artist, and also an art teacher. They work together to create this collaborative sculpture.
Okay.
Peter, can we cut to them live? They're waiting for us live.
Oh, hi everybody. My kid Wiley and I made this mixed media sculpture out of Lego and paint and nail polish. Do you want to say hi? Hi. Come in. It's our background. Whoa. Yeah, so every day Wiley built a little bit and then I painted a little bit and I just kind of doodled around with my thoughts of this weird time, and yeah, it was a really fun thing for us to do together. Yeah! Do you want to say anything about it? No. Do you want to wave bye or anything? Bye.
All right, we'll cut to the photos.
Oh, sorry.
Let's cut to Janet and Wiley's photos.
Oh, sorry about that.
There we go.
Oh yeah, here's our photos.
Keep talking about them, Janet and Wiley, if you'd like.
Just one? No, I sent him 3. Oh. There's just one though. I know. I don't know what's happening, Love.
Do you two want to talk about? Oh, okay.
What?
Say anything else about it, Wiley?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wiley had the idea to write art is, and there was a line. And so when it was going to be in a show, like a live in-person show, we were going to have a little box of Lego so people could write in what they think art is. It was all his idea. But, you know, we couldn't do that, but I wanted to make sure people knew that was part of the project. Or you could tell us. You can tell us what you think art is. So there's art is, yeah.
what is art? So that was
and
Wiley's.
that like black thing right there, that black line behind all the stuff is where you put the the word.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Wow. I really hope we all get a chance to see this in person.
The art is brilliant.
Me too.
Riley, that's amazing work. Really cool. Thank you both. You also get the honorary cute award of the evening.
Got the honorary cute award.
And so much more. All right, our next artist is Kaden. Kaden Kai is a queer, trans, non-binary, mixed race, Japanese and white, multidisciplinary Seattle-based artist and body worker.
Hello, everybody. So I think I'll just start my video. I made clothes out of other clothes. So everything was thrifted from the Goodwill outlet. Oops, share. Okay, here we go. So here's a pile of clothes in my studio. And then I started making stuff. I mashed things together. So this shirt and this cargo skirt became a shirt skirt. I really love how this project let me let go of perfectionism, and I was able to just not get hung up by how is it going to turn out, and is anyone going to wear this? It was more like, this is a prototype, you know. This is, if it turns out, then great. If I love it, then great. If not, then, you know, I spent like literally a couple pennies on each of these pieces of clothing. So this was one of my favorites, and I'm wearing it right now. It's a work shirt that turned into a onesie coverall thing. I love how baggy it is. I love how queer I feel in it. These are two shirts that became a onesie clown pants thing. Difficult to design for people for bodies other than my own once, you know, I couldn't get in touch with anybody else. So I wanted to sell them, but I think I just made my own collection, turns out. This is another favorite. It was a strapless dress, and now they're pirate shorts. What else? I was grateful for something to focus on during this month. I didn't sew every day, but I was gentle about that, but it was a steady presence for me. Here's a little cape t-shirt tank that I'm gonna save the world. And there's all the clothes that I have left over, which means that I'm just gonna keep going. I'm going to keep sewing, and I feel good about that. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Stop share. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, our next artist is Kelly Kavanaugh. Kelly is a 31-year-old non-binary visual artist born in Denver, Colorado, living in Seattle, Washington. They made digital paintings and illustrations depicting their original characters inserted into the art pieces they have presently in their home. With permission from the original artists, this project focused on practicing new to them techniques, digital oil painting, screen printing replication, chalk illustration, while spending time appreciating beloved pieces in their home that inspire them regularly. Follow them on Instagram at Kelly Kavanaugh Draws. Oh, it looks like a couple ended up being blurry.
Thank you, Kelly. Our next presenter is Kylina, or Kylie Wrench, a graphic designer and illustrator with a strong interest in environmental conservation and education. A Cornish graduate, Kylie works at a plant nursery and garden store and recently became a wildlife habitat steward through the National Wildlife Federation. This organization focuses mainly on the use of native plants for habitat restorations and gardening in a sustainable way for wildlife.
So yeah, I was looking closely at plants, native and tropical indoor plants, just general house plants, thinking about our environment and how we interact with it. This month has been super weird, but I have tried to stay calm and zen and reconnect with nature, and highlight some of those details of nature through watercolors and photography. So I painted a lot of ferns because I love ferns, and I have them all over my space. I also have like some cool hanging plants, some alpine succulents and palms, different kinds of flowering vines. This is a Sansevieria and a ribbon plant that I have. I also found a lot of things through tide pooling, on hikes, in the garden, things that I had just started rooting in water, looking at close details as far as water drops and different kinds of root systems. And then I also did a lot of close-up look with photography, landscapes, also how things are kind of working together to create a cohesive scene and different scenery, how to make scenery without painting each individual plant, but still getting good contrast and edges. And then some of my photography, I was looking a lot at how pollinators are interacting with different kinds of plants. These are some nice cherry blossoms, more native plants, evergreen huckleberry, and how water droplets collect on leaves, especially ones that have like small hairs or various structures on the leaf surface. This is salal, a native berry bush. It's very beautiful. And then just some local things around my neighborhood that I found going on walks. Thanks.
Our next artist is Laura Friedman. Laura is a person who likes to make the things from the heart that they see when they dream or when they stop trying and just listen.
Hello. So I feel like some of the first capacities that become degraded when our nervous system is in like survival mode are like intuition and these like subtler ways of understanding that are the things that precisely make me feel like myself. And so when I was making things, I just tried to stay as open as possible to like whatever wanted to come through. And I initially was going to make like a million of these really tiny ponies, and, like paint them pink and like make a mobile out of them. I made like really small ones too. And I had to stop making them because my cat really likes the way that they smell. And so he wouldn't let me like use my hands. He was just like, kept interrupting me. And I kind of like, the idea was kind of dying for me. And then I was just like, I think I want to make these letters, these big letters and these paper dolls. And so I think for me, this was just a practice in staying really open to whatever was like honestly showing up for me and whatever was like juiciest. And so this is what happened. And yeah, thank you all so much for being in community around this project right now and for the organizers for organizing it.
Our next artist is Lauren Dawson. Lauren is a 28-year-old artist who is new here in Seattle, all the way from Florida. Lauren made a series of small illustrations featuring diversity of people, patterns, and colors for her project, where she hand drew the line art and used Photoshop to color and finish each piece. For this project, Lauren challenged herself to step outside her comfort zone of black and white work to go full color, inspired by the lively, vibrant people she's seen all over Seattle. She loved the daily challenge, and by the end of this project, she had a great appreciation for the variety of creativity she's seen. If you're interested in purchasing any of Lauren's work, please email her at the address found in the comments. Our next artist is Lauren Engel. Lauren is a ceramic artist born and raised in Seattle, Washington. They made a series of pinch pots using a variety of clays and surface decorations. This project gave me the space to get familiar with different clays through the intimate process of making pinch pots, a technique that leaves the finished piece with imprints of every touch. I explored different forms and joining techniques and played with surfaces and colors in ways that I hadn't before. I had started my project in February due to the time it takes to fire, glaze, and refire ceramics. So much of the building happened before the COVID situation was affecting my life. However, for the last 2 weeks of my pottery class, the studio was noticeably quiet in a time that is usually frantic with people trying to finish projects. I picked up the final finished pieces on the last day the studio was open before its indefinite closure. Email at the address found in her bio in the comment field if you are interested in purchasing any of her work. Next, we have Leah Montague. Leah is a geographer and a homo who lives in Seattle. Hey, homo.
Hey, hi everyone. I made these postcards with watercolors. So it was just this like peaceful meditative thing I could do. And then when we started having all the Zoom calls, when COVID-19 happened, I started doing it like while I was on Zoom calls.
Are you doing it right now, Leah?
What's that?
Are you doing it right now?
I know. So I didn't manage to do it every day, but what I would do is kind of work in batches and with layers. So I would do like a couple cards at a time and like add a layer, you know? And I was trying to do stuff that was like a little bit spatial sometimes because of the geography thing. So there's these ones here that have kind of routes or like strategies mapped on them. And then I think the next slide has, like topography markings. I don't know. So usually I'm a writer, so I just thought it would be neat to try to do something visual. And I was really working on just like very basic skills, like how to make sure you were using the right intensity of color and like the right amount of water on your brush, like very basic. And I just want to thank Rob and Jordan for teaching me a little bit about watercolors, and McKenna and Sarah for holding the space for us.
All right. Our next artist is Maddie Romancic. And just in case you're wondering, I wanted to tell you where we're at in our lineup. There's been about 35 artists and we have 15 left to go. Maddie is a lifelong Seattle resident who spends her time making big, messy art projects, working in a library, teaching math to kids, with friends and family, petting cats, consuming delicious foods, while in a constant state of overwhelm and varying levels of anxiety.
Oh, 1 second. It looks like you need to take the screen back, Peter. I like your headset, Maddie.
Oh, thanks. I've been on so many Zoom meetings lately.
Very official.
Yes. So it was an honor to be able to participate in a Crush Repeat for I think it was my 3rd time.
Hold on 1 second, Maddie. Peter, can you make it full screen? We're seeing your whole thing. Sorry. Just want to get it so everyone can see your beautiful art.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you want the art full screen, or are we going full screen for Maddie?
Full screen for you, Peter.
For the art, yeah.
For the art.
I don't want to be staring at my big face.
Great. Thanks, Peter.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, I don't really have much to say about it other than, I mean, I chose to try watercolors because it's something I've always been interested in. I just love the way watercolor looks. It's so luminous and it's flowing, and I tend to gravitate towards art forms where I feel like I can have a lot of control, like quilting. So watercolor is not that. You really have to work with the medium and you know, let it do some of the things it wants to do and kind of cooperate with it. And I found myself fighting with it sometimes, and then sometimes there would be these moments where it was just like it just worked out, and like it was very satisfying and yeah, and frustrating at times. So it's definitely something I want to continue to explore because it I don't know, it tickles that part of the brain, you know. So I'm thankful for being able to participate again, and I hope to do so next year as well. Thank you so much for putting this on and adapting to the wild changes as they come.
Thank you as well. Our next artist is Maisha Banks Manson, a queer, gender, non-conforming, Black identified artist, activist, teacher, and writer. They made a poetry tribute to daily tarot card pulls. Calling for the magic and reflection of tarot, Maisha's tribute to the cards caused for times of introspection and furthering mystic practice. Hi, Maisha.
Hey friends, so I'm going to read a few tributes to some cards, following a 3-card pull and a summary. Boundaries. Cialix Bablonica, Willow, Bow. Eat the sun, steadfast, secure, broken. Heavy hands, tired arms, the most beautiful burden are often carried in tired, heavy bows. The Lovers. I painted my lover's skin, covered scars with water, dyed pour into each myopic crevice. Let me cover her whole, till she resembled all of my favorite colors, crawled into the back of my throat, kicked out I love yous in Morse code on my voice box. This is how I knew she never loved me. Paint is never supposed to dry quick, evaporate on tongue, so I stopped painting. Picked up sculpting, marble. Every chip you make is damage. You polish it if needed, sometimes. And the summary poem, so all of the cards, I would write a tribute to what the lessons they gave. How crystals are formed. Tears find each other, tangle in comfort, drawn in isolation, formed in kin. Salt takes hold of their strength, roots in backbones, till they are still. Gaze so holy they never leave this love, wrapped inferno, poured into each myopic crevice, the most beautiful burden. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Maisha.
Moving to our next artist is our very own McKenna O'Keefe, a femme queer Jewish artist, designer and community arts organizer living in Seattle, Washington. And here she is.
Hi, everyone. I and Sarah are your faithful Crush Repeat co-organizers. I am going to, oh yeah, I guess you can do that. Also, Peter, if I can share behind me for a second whenever you've gone through those photos. I made a dollhouse. I I've always been obsessed with and in love with miniatures for as long as I can remember, and I found a vintage dollhouse kit on my local Buy Nothing group a couple months ago, and I was like, I think I want to do a project where I examine like my ideas around what creating home is for my chosen family. And I've had to move a lot in my life, and I also am a bit estranged from some of my my blood family, and so building my chosen family here in Seattle and abroad over the last 4 years that I've lived here, and my chosen family back in Portland and more in the Bay. It's been so meaningful for me to create that family. And so I'm obviously still working on the dollhouse. COVID-19 happened and organizing this show happened. And also I made this year's Crush Repeat embroidery. So that is our poster this year. I hand painted and hand embroidered your poster, which was very fun for me. And then as you can see behind me, there is the dollhouse up there. Yeah, so I'm going to continue working on this project. I think it felt really nice to have something to spend time with that had kind of a structure when I had lost all structure because of COVID-19, and also changing jobs and some big life changes over the past 6 months. So having this like routine structure and like following rules, but also getting to like be creative and envision how I want to like build a miniature like queer future for myself inside and for my chosen family in this space has been a really magical process, and I will continue working on it throughout the rest of quarantine because it is bringing me great joy and getting to focus that energy on my future when future is seeming a little hard to imagine right now. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, McKenna. Let's just take a moment and appreciate this beautiful thing that McKenna made.
Thanks, Sarah. That's very sweet.
I'm appreciating it.
Sorry. It's a moment of silence. You didn't say that.
That's right. It's so good with the actual needle. Ugh. I've seen a lot and I'm not tired of looking at it. That said, let's move to our next person. Murphy Mitchell. So Murphy Mitchell is a lover of low-tech and lightly magical art forms, including but not limited to paper cutouts, two-dimensional puppets, scribbles, doodles, and sketches. They worked on a collection of paper cutouts of some of the deep sea creatures that are part of the unique ecosystems that live in the bodies of dead whales that have fallen to the ocean floor, also known as whale falls. Over the course of this month, this project was a sweet anchor point for deepening their appreciation for all the amazing and strange life forms living deep on the ocean floor. Learning about the hagfish and its ability to protect itself from shark bites by producing massive amounts of slime was one of the many highlights from this project. All right, our next performer is also going to do a live performance. Our next artist, Neve, is a disabled queer witch of color, making art, home, and bedlam at the end of this world. Hi, Neve.
Hi.
Hi, Neve.
Hello. You're in the chapel, which is the home of Sachel Sevate, and of course I'm getting wine delivered to me right now. Tony, are you gonna come over here too? Yes, ma'am. Okay. But come say hi. Okay, Tony doesn't want to, but in his heart, I think he's saying hi. He just doesn't want to be on stage, which is we balance each other out that way because I always want to be on stage. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, and salud to Crush Repeat and to Sarah and McKenna and to all of you and all of the beautiful art that I've seen so far. So I wanted to play a little game of chance. The poems that I wrote, the ones that I have actually typed up, I did 29, which I was pretty impressed with myself, that many. And something that was really interesting about the process was like realizing that when I was writing every day, the things that I wrote about really surprised me, because I tended in the past to write poetry when I was like very moved and feeling some very strong thing. And when I had to think every single day, like, oh, what am I going to write a poem about? All of these memories kept flooding in, all of these random thoughts. Some of them are really intense, some of them are really goofy. So the ones that are typed up are 13 through 29. And Sarah and McKenna, I would like each of you to choose a number between 13 and 29, and those are the two poems I'll read.
24, please. What? Do we both say 24, Sarah?
So are we both born on the 24th?
We're both born on the 24th, which is the best day.
Okay, well,
of course, we both said 24.
Louder, so I'm gonna go with 24 for McKenna. Sarah, would you choose a different number, please? I'm sorry.
Sure. Let's go with a prime number.
Math nerd over here.
19.
Ooh. That's what Tony just chose in his head. So y'all are in sync as well.
I was saying, yeah, great.
Okay, so 19 and 24. Let me try it. Find these. Okay. And they are just named after the numbers. So they don't have titles other than 19. So here's 19. And this one was based on a dream. So I'll say that. My cute mama, a bit like a long-eared doe, we all are. The femmes in my family, both sides now, are velveteen women. Eyes violet or vert, brown with a foxglove crown. The fairy who saved our lagomorphic patriarch emerged from a poppy, they think, golden orange and fresh to death, dragon maker to my chaser, Timmy in the sky with diamonds, Checo in the ground with china and ruby and wood and everything good. My mama said, I think I've seen you on a stage, on a screen, in the pages of this magazine. And Timmy laughed, took my mama's hand, and took the stage to shape the moves I made. It all became real just then. And just a little tidbit, yay, Tony's snapping. Just a little tidbit, Timmy in this poem is Timothy Chalamet. So just wanted to put that out there, that he made a long, extended, epic presence in a dream one night. We were living underground together, and we were together, had the duty of creating a live performance every night to keep up everyone's spirits, which I was like, that's definitely a COVID dream. It's like, we're all mole people now. 24. Ooh, yes. Cool. So this one was inspired actually by the film Crip Camp that's currently on Netflix, and I really recommend it. I'll crawl through the dewy green and brown for so long and so far that I'll forget what people think is proper and appropriate. Crips have played soccer this way since the 70s, probably earlier, since whenever we were allowed to drink sun and eat grass. Our bodies are not an indignity to our souls, nor a proof of our lack thereof. I will kick with the back of my gimp wrist, and I will lick with the light of my quick wit, and I will kill the most candid of jailers. Thank you very much. And I'll film a video at some point and send it to y'all if you want to add it to the
Yes,
website.
please. Thank you, Neve.
Thanks, y'all.
Great. So our next artist is Paula Laval, a 31-year-old human female. She wrote down 2 affirming sentences she did not quite believe in blue ink, and she used a toxic marker to display the negative thoughts that automatically appeared in response. She thinks this project is sad, and she does not recommend reading the negative thoughts. Our next artist is Peta Pottinger. Peta is a queer, Black, neurodiverse, non-binary immigrant who is a lover of spicy foods and the sound of Black people laughing. Over the course of the month, Z took pictures of her elderly, one-eyed pirate dog, Wiley, during their daily adventures around South Seattle. This practice was one of the only constants during a tumultuous march.
Our next artist is Peter Van Eno.
We practiced this.
We practiced it, and then I said it wrong again. Peter, where are you? I have to find you first. Or you can share yourself.
I'm going to jump in here for a second, McKenna, because Peter has really saved the day. He's running this whole digital slideshow.
Yeah.
And Peter is also a relative of mine. Peter is my cousin. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, you saved our asses today. Thank you so much, Peter.
I'm really glad I could contribute in some other way as well. It's been really great. So my goal for March was to practice self-love and self-compassion. That's something I struggle with, so I wanted to challenge myself and share words of self-love with the community and get some practice myself just getting this out. So sit back and read these 19 positive affirmations to yourself. They are for you.
Just before we cut to Pua, Sarah got so excited that I didn't get to properly introduce Peter. Peter is a grad student at UW-Bothell in cybersecurity engineering. He's 33 and enjoys biking around the Puget Sound, endless schooling, and his wife and 2 house rabbits, Frank and Fawn. Our next artist is Pua Owen. Pua is a Japanese, Mexican, Filipinx, Okinawan, queer, trans, full-time care attendant for their girlfriend, part-time elementary school care teacher, or garden teacher, herbal medicine student, and aspiring artist.
These works on watercolor paper, watercolor, pencil, collage, glitter, permanent inks, and plant inks that I made. 3 pieces have plant inks that I made. When I was a child, I was completely in love with making art and being in nature. At 8 years old, I told a close family member that I wanted to be an artist when I grew up, and their immediate response was, "How are you going to make a living doing that?" At that age, it never occurred to me that money mattered when it came to being an artist, but those words did have an enormous impact. Fast forward to starting art school at 28 years old in New York and learning about the art world and the art market and about elitist and capitalist ideas about art and being pressured to develop a style and polished body of work. 12 years later, I think I am finally cleansed of the more negative effects of my art school education. During the pandemic, Crush Repeat has given me the opportunity to establish for myself over the course of a month of practice that has been comfortable in pace. I don't know if it's a, I don't know if y'all been hearing me. I've been talking, but.
We have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Button popped up. To establish myself over the course of this month of practice that has been comfortable in pace with minimal guilt, minimal negative judgment and doubt. And that is all what I truly want from my work, to reconnect and reclaim the joy and immersion I experienced as a child, when my dream was to be an artist living a magical life with nature. The joy I felt for creating before self-doubt, before comparing myself to others, and before capitalistic ideas of worth, before how are you going to make a living from art mattered.
Thank you.
My girlfriend, Giovanna.
Our next artist is Ramona Parker. Ramona is a 29-year-old Black, queer, Southern comic and multimedia artist currently residing in Seattle. He made a short series of character illustrations based on his comic series still in development, Whole Squad. Whole Squad Amphibian, mainly working from sketches in Procreate on iPad. This body of work is about escapism and invites the viewer to take a break from the exhausting things going on and chill with these cool frogs for a little while. The process of making the work was just pulling myself out of a negative headspace. I chose mostly bright, vivid color palettes, which were fun and also challenging to manage, but I've learned to be much quicker in my work and I feel more confident because of this project. Our next artist is Robin Hunt. Robin is a multimedia illustrator who is working on starting their freelance career.
Hello, it's me, Robin, and I wanted to start by when I decided to become an artist, I just felt like, well, professionally, I just felt like there were so many options on subject matter and making a style and like, or not maintaining a style. So I decided for Crush Repeat to like kind of just make some constraints for myself. So I wrote myself a story about this ghost character that I've kept drawing, and then just sort of worked away at the illustrations every day based on this story and within this kind of like style guideline that I had given myself. And yeah, logos buds. And I feel like I learned a lot just about like completing pieces, which I don't generally do. So yeah, it's just been really fun, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity to like, you know, do a project start to finish. And I'm still working on the completed zine, but hopefully I'll let y'all know when it's all done. If you want to see the progress on it, you can follow me on Instagram at @ByRobinHunt. So yeah, the story is just kind of about this ghost who lives in a really boring world, and he's really tired of his life. And then one day he discovers this like magical underwater garden, and he goes to try to find it again, and it's not there anymore. So yeah, you should follow me if you want to hear the rest of the story. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Here's the rest of my completed ones behind me. Like the full versions are on my Instagram. But yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Robin.
Yeah.
Our next artist is Ruby Byrne. Ruby is a Seattleite scientist and part-time art dabbler. She identifies as a white, Jewish, cis, queer, bisexual, and pansexual woman, and uses she, her pronouns.
Hi, everyone. It's such an honor to be here and be presenting my work along with so many talented artists. So the inspiration for this project was I wanted to make drawings and paintings based on everyday objects, and I decided to use stuff on my bedroom floor that is always messy. There's always something there. So that was the inspiration here. I tried experimenting with different media using pencil, ink, and watercolor also. And I love the opportunity to play with light and shadow because of all of the folds in the cloth and stuff like that. I definitely lost momentum for this project as the month went on, as I got more isolated in my apartment, sort of focusing on how messy my apartment was. Didn't seem like so much fun. And so this was a project that sort of took up the first half of March for me, and I'm totally okay with that. And it is what it is. I really appreciate the opportunity to flex my art making muscles and to be a part of this community. And I hope everyone is taking care of themselves in this weird and scary time, and taking care of their communities, and always centering the most vulnerable. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next artist is Sam Friedman. Sam is a 32-year-old queer person who spends most of their time teaching a 5th grade class in Seattle. Sam's going to share his own screen.
Sam's actually not here, so go ahead and show the photos.
Here we go.
Sarah, do you have Sam's bio you could pull up really quick? Like full bio to explain.
During the month of March, Sam learned how to make a stamp and explored the medium of linoleum and ink. The small size of the zodiac symbols demanded focus and great attention to detail, which can be a challenge outside of work hours. The Queer Love and Revolution set is an expression of the things that they desire most right now. Developing an art separate from work during this quarantine has given outlet to a lot of anxious energy, and they are thankful. artist is Sam Smith. Sam Smith is a hell gay social butterfly, a jock, a film photographer, and a South Seattle kid. And Sam will be sharing his own screen.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
First of all, Sarah, McKenna, thank you so much for making all this magic happen. All the artists, thank you so much for all your for sharing. It's also really, really sweet to see everybody's all the positivity and comments that are happening on the little chat window is like a really nice extra little thing that makes this virtual art gallery like, you know, not obviously not as amazing as the other person, but like, it makes it okay. It makes it fabulous in its own special way. Okay, I'm gonna do a little screen share here. And okay, so for my project, I just tried to figure out how to, okay, well, first of all, my, as a daily practice during this really, really different than normal time we find ourselves in, in order just for kind of like I went on a really, really long walk every single day, like several miles long, several hours long, in part just to get some exercise and to get the hell out of the house, and also just to kind of clear my mind and to de-stress, just get some fresh air and just kind of roam, and also just to roam around and see what my city is up to. And I also used the opportunity to bring my trusty old film SLR camera and to just like try to document it. And I wasn't really sure where I was going to go with this at first. You know, the media has a lot of photos from all over the world right now of places that are normally really crowded and are totally empty right now, which are really powerful. But I felt like I didn't need to focus my energy and attention on that. So what I ended up doing was mostly kind of just like trying to document like what my social life looked like what specifically my social life during social distancing, which often included just encountering people I know while I was on my long walks, you know, so like non-planned dates, but just having a nice conversation with good friends from 6 or more feet apart. I also, this is a photo from my first ever Zoom call a couple weeks ago. And after that, I was like, God, this is horrible. I'm never doing one of these again. And now I have like 3 regular weekly Zoom dates among others. I just wanted to draw, also just really, one of the things I enjoy about this picture is this book on the right side is a book that my friend Kat just wrote and self-published and came out like a month ago. It is really unfortunately titled We Should Get Together, because that's just not really possible right now. But I highly recommend everyone buying it. It's beautiful. It's fun. It's a good way to inspire people to like figure out how to have the social life they want when we're allowed to have social lives again. Let's see. Oh, I also should just mention that I only have like 1 or 2 rolls of film processed out of the like several, of at least a dozen that I shot, because my film lab, Panda, is shut down for a while. I didn't expect to have anything to show for this, but they contacted me after the shop closed. The owner did, to try to mail me some of the film that they had processed for me. So I just want to give a shout out to them. If anyone has any film, I highly recommend using it because it's the best. And Panda is located at Seattle Center. So if you're local, support them when they reopen because they are fabulous. This photo was from my last ever time hanging out in somebody else's house. It was this weird hybrid with my group of 5 friends trying to watch RuPaul's Drag Race together. Half of us were in one house and the other half were in another. And now we do it every week, all separately. Well, shout out to the 206. Some safe social distance style hug. And I also just want to throw out there, I just thought about this. I just thought about this just now while everyone else was presenting. So one other thing that I love doing, speaking of like low tech stuff like film photography, something else I really love doing is using the United States Postal Service to send postcards of my photography in the mail. And I just wanted to offer that anybody who would like to receive a postcard in the mail, when I'm done showing these, I'll type in my email address in the little chat window and just email me anything you want, either any of these specifically, or I can pick one, or I'll pick something else I'm not showing. I will happily mail you a postcard. I promise it's really fun to get something in the mail that is just like a handwritten note, that is art, that is not a bill or anything else. And that is all of them.
Sam, I love that I still get postcards of your art from last year's Crush Repeat project in the mail. It's been a true joy for me all year. So
yeah. Well, let the tradition continue. If you want another one, just let me know.
You know I do, Sam. You know I do.
Okay, I'm typing in my email address in the window right now.
Great, thank you.
I'm done. Thanks so much.
There's just 4 of us left for FYI.
All right. So exciting.
Oh, am I supposed to know? Oh, okay. Hi.
Sarah, hold on, Sarah. Sarah, were you gonna other Sarah Brown? Were you gonna? I can.
Oh look, that's my name. I'm sorry.
That's you doing the intro.
I'm doing this intro. Here I go. Sarah Alpert is a queer Jewish 27-year-old who can often be found looking closely at plants, talking about core values, and or wearing more colors than the occasion requires. Here we go.
Cool. Thank you. Hi.
Hold on one second. Peter, you have to share the photos.
Oh, I have to share them?
No, Peter does. Sorry. Peter, will you take the screen back?
Ruining this, Sarah.
Very confusing with
Should I
all the
just start over?
Great.
All right, now you can talk, other Sarah.
Thank you. Cool. So I made a lot of tiny zines for my project. You can't maybe tell from, I guess you can tell if you notice that the things holding up the clotheslines are little tacks. That shows you about how big they are. So these are made out of, most of them are half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper folded up into 8s. I really like small things. I like noticing small things. And when I started, I tried to make big, like slightly bigger ones, like the one in the top corner. But just like felt overwhelmed. So the really tiny format worked well for me. These are a few of my favorite page spreads. I guess they're a little small to read. But yeah, I liked combining words and pictures. And I really love using like writing and art to document things. And you can see that they all fold out kind of like this. So yeah, all just one piece of paper folded up. Yeah. And if you want to see like more slowly and like more of them, I can put my Instagram in the comments, but it's Snail Palace Press. Thank you.
All right, our next wonderful artist is also our truly amazing Crush Repeat co-organizer, the wonderful, brilliant, and dedicated Sarah Brown. Sarah is a queer math teacher and nature appreciator who was born and raised in Seattle. She imperfectly strives to work for peace, love, power, joy, and justice for all people every day.
So I made bow ties and I had so many ideas and I thought this was really going to be the month that I learned how to sew. So these are the first 5 days. We have the muslin prototype, which I really never made one from that pattern again, but that was the idea. We've got some little seed balls, some duct tape, crossword puzzle, and some recycled polyester from an old garment of clothing. And the next 5 days, I'm still, like, things are still not normal. There's like a little ripple of something, but it hasn't quite hit my art yet. So I've got astroturf, sword fern, kind of a Muppety fake fur thing, Google eyes. We have a cat toy, that one, that fourth from the bottom, the top. That one has a refillable Velcro catnip pouch in it. And then the one on the bottom of tinfoil was like, what can I make in 3 minutes? I'm so tired. Okay, next one. This is when things just started to go off the rails a little bit. So that would be March 11th on the top. That's a fire starting kit. It's got sandpaper, or that's the flint, matches, and newspaper. That second one from the top that looks like fine linen is actually toilet paper. It was the like toilet paper craze was happening, where nobody could ever be hoarding toilet paper. Then we've got that's little coronaviruses on that middle one and some caution tape. And it's just like on ripped fabric where it's like, what is happening? I think that may have been the day they announced that schools were closed. That fourth one is my social distance bow tie. It's a hawthorn. It's kind of hard to see, but there's one that points straight out. So if anyone gets within like 4 or 5 inches, it'll stab them in the throat. And then that bottom one, actually, right before, that was the day the libraries closed. And so of course, I've barely read any of them, but I went to 3 or 4 different libraries and grabbed like 30 books. And that's from a book, a sewing book. And I followed the pattern and it took me like 3 hours. And then I was, okay, let's hold it there for a second, okay, Peter? Although you can really enjoy Willie Bean and the cat toy while I'm talking. I knew that if I stopped making them for one day that I was just gonna stop. And so I did for a few days after that, but it was kind of like as this whole crisis was mounting, it was a good practice and it was kind of helping me ground, but then I really entered into some kind of like freeze response where I couldn't sleep and it was hard to do things. And I've noticed kind of this similar arc in other people's art. And so there was a day where I just stopped making them. And I still have lots of ideas and some that I want to make, so maybe I'll do it another time. But now we're going to see a little quick photo shoot that I did with my quarantine crew. So here's Willie Bean and her catnip toy that she only sometimes enjoys. The Wiley of previous fame is here with the red plaid polyester bow tie, looking very regal. And then this is my good friend who had a landmark birthday early in the month. And we had gone on a hike on Vashon Island. And I gathered this sword fern and lichen from the path that we were hiking on. And then I made that that night. And then it's been in the refrigerator on a wet paper towel as if it was an expensive corsage for more than a month. So and then here we have the Google AI Muppet tie, trying to just bring a breath of something lighthearted and fun to where we all are right now.
Sarah, you cut out. What did you say?
I said that is also a really cute picture.
Yeah.
That's my project.
E.T.'s a good model. All right, thank you, Sarah. Hold on, let me scroll through and look for Victoria really quick. All right, our next artist is Victoria Cushing. Victoria is a queer, trans, non-binary artist, engineer, and designer who spends their time with their amazing pup and friends, along with devouring science fiction novels. They're originally from the East Coast, but left the sunshine for Seattle summers and haven't looked back.
Hi, folks. It's good to see all of your faces. It's wonderful to be a part of this project. Thank you, McKenna and Sarah. I'm here with my lovely pup, Oliver. He's helping me present today. My project, I decided on probably the last day of February to do a series of sketches with watercolor and pen medium in my home. Because I felt really comfortable there. I think things have shifted a lot since that original time. So I would say that it definitely hit like a peak at the start and mid-March around which of these sketches I really enjoyed the most. And then as it went on, I was just trying to be gentle with myself about how much I wanted to accomplish and how much I felt good accomplishing. In that, some of the things that inspired me inside of each of these sketches was I decided to overlay quotes from some of my favorite authors and books that I've read in the past 2 years, especially. So I actually have the stack of books that were all featured in this, which is only a portion of the stack of novels. And I guess there was technically one nonfiction, primarily by queer, trans folks and people of color and Black authors. So that's who I tried to center in all areas of listening. And so it's where I've enjoyed the most reading as well. So here I have one of the quotes, which she did the best as she could as herself, which is from the short story Near of Kin by Octavia Butler in the Blood Child and Other Stories, short stories collection. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much.
Our last but not least at all, final artist of the evening is Wendy Elisheva Summerson. Wendy is a somatic healer, writer, and activist in Seattle.
Hi all, I'm sharing my birds. Birds, birds, and birds. I creatively titled it. I stuck with it. I did 31 birds. This is what they look like all arranged on the floor. And I couldn't leave them there for long because my cat Mendel started to bat them around. So I ended up hanging them up, which you saw at the beginning, but I'll show you again. They're all made on pieces of wood, and I burned wood glue on them to get the background, and then I rub in watercolor paint. Then they have a layer of wax, and then I paint the birds themselves in wax on top of that background. So yeah. It was really fun. It was really like a simple idea just because I like birds. So I stuck with birds in Seattle that I've seen or right around Seattle, and just made sure I got some of my favorite ones. And it was just like really sweet to get to know each of these birds better. My favorite, as some of you know, are crows. And then there's a rufous hummingbird. I also love a kingfisher. I can't remember who's on the right, but a very, very nice bird person. And then I love barn owls. I saw a snowy owl in Ballard. Do you remember when that snowy owl was in Ballard? And then I also really love flickers. I love the blue heron. This is a scrub jay and an American kestrel. That's one of my favorite ones, just painting wise, the one on the right that came out. And then I also really like the peregrine falcon over here. They've got such nice big eyes. think that's a bush tit. I also just wanted to say that. There's a snowy woodpecker over here on the right, and a seagull, and a cute one who I can't remember, but they're very cute with the yellow and the red. Just the other day, Selma and I saw a pileated woodpecker, one on the left, and then we all see the very aggressive and amazing stellar jays in our neighborhoods. And this is how we ended up hanging them up. I just put them on like a bamboo pole, and then I used twine, and they're just like up across, you know, they're near the ceiling in my dining room. So there were so many that I ended up doing 2 different ones. And that's it. I'm the last artist. It was so sweet to be here with all of you. And thank you to McKenna and Sarah for coordinating and bringing together community around art. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Wendy. We're just gonna take a moment really quick to just say hello. Let's see, are you still screen sharing? Let's see.
We can see you, McKenna.
You can see me? Cool. I just wanted to say hi. I heard that there were some technical difficulties in the beginning where you couldn't see me and Sarah. So we just wanted to do a little sign off and say hello. We're so grateful to have you all participate in the show this year. It was so meaningful to see how many of you stuck with this throughout everything that's happened this past month. It was truly unprecedented and really hard sometimes to do anything. And so it's pretty miraculous that, you know, we made any art at all and that this is happening right now. And so we just are so unbelievably grateful for you and for this community of artists that's been building for the past, 6-7 years. So Sarah, would you like to say anything, sign off?
Sure. I mean, thank you to everyone who is watching. Thank you to everyone who signed up to participate and had the idea of a project. I just feel like there's a lot of different ways to different entry points, and sometimes it's not all about the finished product. And so I really want people to feel part of it, even if maybe they had an idea or they started and they did something different or they didn't, this life took over, which it really did at this time. And it was just so wonderful to watch, to see everybody's work like that. And I just think this is a uniquely beautiful show at a uniquely weird time. Plus we're like still in the weird time. So it's very inspiring and uplifting to me, and I hope it was for all of you who participated and all of you who are watching as well.
Yeah, thanks to everybody.
We
love you. See you next year.
Thank you.
And cut.